the mystery of the Toynbee Tiles. The Toynbee Tiles are messages of unknown origin found embedded in asphalt of streets in about 24 major cities in the United States and in 4 South American cities. Since the 1980s, several hundred tiles have been discovered. They are generally about the size of an American license plate, but sometimes considerably larger. They contain some variation of the following inscription: Toynbee Idea, in movie 2001, resurrect dead on planet Jupiter. Some of the more elaborate tiles also feature cryptic political statements or exhort readers to create and install similar tiles of their own. The material used for making the tiles was initially unknown, but evidence has emerged that they may be primarily made of layers of linoleum and an asphalt crack-filling compound. Articles about the tiles began appearing in the mid-1990s, though references may have started to appear in the mid-1980s. In a documentary film about the tiles, Justin Duerr assumes that Toynbee refers to the 20th century British historian Arnold J. Toynbee, and that Kubrick's 2001 is a reference to the 1968 film 2001: A Space Odyssey, a film co-written and directed by filmmaker Stanley Kubrick about a crewed mission to Jupiter.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
The former speculation site, Toynbee.net, theorized that Toynbee referred to Ray Bradbury's short story, The Toynbee Convector. In 1983, a man identifying himself as a social worker named James Marasco contacted talk shows and newspapers with his theory of colonizing Jupiter with the dead inhabitants of Earth, claiming to have come across the idea while reading a book by historian Arnold Toynbee. In a conversation with the Philadelphia Inquirer, Marasco discussed how Toynbee's book contained a theory on bringing dead molecules back to life, and that this was later depicted in the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. The caller had found what the Inquirer called a Jupiter colonization organization, known as the Minority Association. In 1996, the Kansas City Star editor Doug Wargel discovered a Toynbee tile at the corner of 13th and Grand in downtown Kansas City. Investigating the story 7 years later, he found that the tile was still there, and he determined that the street had last been resurfaced in 1996. Comparing the tile to those in other cities, a local police detective felt that clearly it was created by the same hand, and concluded that despite referring to a movement, the creator was acting alone. In 2003, Wargel called the only James Marasco in the Philadelphia telephone book, and was told by the man's wife that her husband had died in March that year, aged 88. When asked about the tiles, Marasco's widow said that her husband didn't know anything about it. Wargel doubted that this was the tile maker. Action News spoke to the widow of a man named James Joseph Marasco and identified him as a Philadelphia carpenter who had died in 2003, aged 87. His wife did not recognize the tiles and said her husband had no interest in Jupiter. If Marasco had died at either age in 2003, he would have been in his 70s when most of the tiles were laid. In the United States, tiles have officially been sighted as far west as Kansas City, Missouri, as far north as Boston, Massachusetts, and as far south as Richmond, Virginia. Since 2002, very few new tiles considered to be the work of the original artist have appeared outside of the immediate Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area, although one notable sighting appeared in suburban Connecticut in 2006, and one appeared in Edison, New Jersey in 2007. Presumed copycat tiles have been spotted in Noblesville, Indiana, Buffalo, New York, San Francisco, California, Portland, Oregon, and Roswell, New Mexico, as well as a 1997 sighting in Detroit, Michigan, and a 2013 sighting in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Many older tiles considered to be the work of the original tiler have been eroded by traffic. As of 2011, older tiles remain in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, St. Louis, Missouri, Cincinnati, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, South America, among other locations. Newer tiles have been embedded on several major highways in Pennsylvania, including Interstate 476 in Delaware County and on Interstate 95. About 6 more were found on US 1 northbound, starting in Drexel Hill in Delaware County, Pennsylvania in 2007 and 2008. The plates were much larger than the originals and have red italic writing on them. In 2016, some tiles started reappearing in Philadelphia. A tile that used to be located in Santiago mentions a street address, 2624 South 7th, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. In 2006, the occupants of the house stated that they knew nothing about the tiles and were annoyed by people who asked, despite the fact that the house was the former residence of a named recluse and alleged tile maker, also shown in the 2011 documentary film Resurrect Dead, The Mystery of the Toynbee Tiles. Toynbee Tile enthusiasts believe that a native Philadelphian created the Toynbee Tiles because of the large number that appear in the city, their apparent age, the variety of carving styles, the presence of the tile's creator's screed, and the Philadelphia address on the Santiago tile. Justin Dorr said that he considered the tiles to be a work of a single person and attributed them to the reclusive Philadelphia resident Severino Sevi Verna. Dorr believed Verna used the name James Marasco as an alias. The streets surrounding Verna's residence were littered with small proto-tiles that Dorr believed were tests, and ham radio enthusiasts reported Verna may have broadcast a message via short-wave radio about his theories. Based on comments from Verna's neighbors about him driving a car without a passenger seat, Durr suspected Verna placed the tiles through a hole in the floor of his car. Toynbee Tile enthusiast Justin Durr claims to have once found and examined a newly installed tile. This new tile was wrapped in tar paper and placed on a busy street early in the morning. From this find and other evidence, Dorr believes that the pressure exerted by automobiles driving over the tile for weeks on end pushes the tile into the road surface. Eventually, the tar paper wears away, exposing the message. New tiles have been seen in Philadelphia since 2003. Between 2002 and 2007, many such tiles displayed a different font and styling than the older tiles, and tended to leave out words that were found on the originals. Raise is often substituted for resurrect, and prepositions are frequently omitted. Beginning in 2007, tiles were discovered in Philadelphia that are quite similar to the original tiles, leading some to believe that everything has been the work of the same person throughout the life of the tile phenomenon. The font and message are the same as the old ones, and the subtext is a return to some of the older ideas as well. The tiles were glued with a thicker layer of asphalt glue or sealant than the older ones. A Toynbee Tile enthusiast website reported a tile found in Pittsburgh that included deployment instructions, which the reader transcribed as linoleum, asphalt glue in several layers, then placing tar paper over it so that car wheels won't mess it up, and apparently the heat of the sun on the tar paper will bake it into the street. This tile was located near the Pittsburgh Hilton and has since been paved over. Tiles that are located in the middle of busy streets and highways on-off ramps tend to wear away quickly and also can become victims of resurfacing. Smaller tiles and those located close to pedestrian crosswalks tend to be in better condition. Hundreds of tiles have been destroyed during the course of regular road maintenance. The city of Chicago has declared the tiles vandalism and removes any tiles that it finds, considering them to be no different than graffiti. There is no public or private agency dedicated to conserving Toynbee tiles. Many tiles now exist only as photographs taken before their destruction. The tiles have enjoyed attention from American and European media outlets, including from the New York Times, the Chicago Sun-Times, Spiegel Online, and NPR. As of October 2015, the Streets Department of Philadelphia recognizes Toynbee tiles as street art and will save one or two of the Toynbee tiles only if there is a fast and affordable method for removing them. To this day, the creator of the Toynbee tiles is unknown and remains unsolved.